Today I'll show you how to unlock true flying freedom and transform your paragliding experience with just 2 words. You can spend years battling common frustrations, getting nervous about getting high or going XC, feel anxious on takeoff, landing, or in turbulent air, maybe struggle to consistently get to cloud base, or put pressure on yourself for not performing. This mental interference stunts your progress, steals your flow, and drains your joy. But here's the truth. Most pilots get the big breakthroughs not from technical tricks, but from a fundamental shift in their approach to paragliding. And the good news is, it's actually quite simple. In 2023, I hit a plateau while living in Sweden. I had the same gear that I'd used to set records back home, but I was struggling to get away from our local hill and I was wondering what was holding me back. While researching sports psychology, I discovered a breakthrough model, almost like a fundamental theorem of flying freedom. It became clear that paragliding freedom depends on factors that I'd instinctively applied before, all of them hanging on just 2 words. And when I started applying this again, I saw my own flying and joy start to return to its evolving potential. If you're new to the channel, welcome, because you're home. And to be honest, we need you. Subscribers to this channel are paragliders improving the world as they are able to show up as their best selves by finding more joy through flow. Join the movement by signing up to my newsletter below. I can't promise instant improvements. Paragliding is a marathon, not a sprint. But if you internalize and apply what I'm about to share, your experience can only get better. Before we dive into the 3 steps to freedom, we must understand a core concept. All of us have a dual nature. Tim Galway calls it self 1 and self 2. I find it useful to think of self 1 as the navigator and self 2 as the driver. Think of your conscious mind as the navigator. It sets the general direction, but the actual driving, the gear shifts, the speed changes, instinctive responses to changing terrain and obstacles, that comes from allowing your well-trained intuitive self to do what it does best. If the navigator gets distracted or scared or tries to micromanage, shout at the driver, or grab the wheel, the journey becomes stressful and far from fluid and even unsafe. The navigator's job is one of direction and focus. The driver, your infinitely more intelligent subconscious mind and nervous system, does the doing. Peak performance and flow lie in the harmony between these 2 selves and is the foundation for joy and freedom in flying and in life. Let's explore the 3-step model that will allow you to unlock this harmonious freedom. Without this critical foundation, our muddy minds fumble around blindly. To remove blockages, we must become aware of our inner state and unlearn the habit of labeling actions or events as good or bad. With practice, this skill can transform your flying and your life. I want you to take a second to imagine yourself in moments of struggle, getting higher than normal, trying to core a thermal, bombing out, or getting annoyed for messing up your takeoff or landing. What do you feel physically? What is the voice in your head saying? Most people are unaware of the physical sensations and often hear versions of, "That was bad, I messed up, you did it wrong again," or "You can't handle this." Or for example, when you're thermaling, you might have been told a bunch of shoulds, like a specific percentage of brake to pull, or to apply or not to apply outside brake, the exact number of seconds to wait before turning, or specific angles that you must stick to be efficient or to get it right. You start trying to thermal correctly, but the more you try, the harder it becomes, and not only robs you of the natural discovery process, which I'll talk a little bit about later, but causes you to become rigid and tense, losing your connection with yourself and your wing. On the occasions when you do get it right, you may label it as good and try to remember the exact positioning of your hands or timing of your turn in order to repeat the action and to get it right. And when this specific good action doesn't work in the ever-changing dynamic air, you rigidly try harder to repeat exactly what you did last time. But it's gone. Mental interference severs the body-mind connection. Contrast this with the effortless, magical feeling of pure flow. Time seems to disappear. Your hands instinctively react to the wing's subtle movements as you feel your way through the thermal without thinking. Your body leans with perfect timing, and you're simply one with the air. When the mind is free of any thought or judgment, it is still and it acts like a mirror. Then, and only then, can we know things as they truly are. But self 1 may protest here. If I don't label my mistakes as bad or dislike my results, then I won't have any incentive to change them. The ego mind wants to take responsibility and credit for making things better. It also worries and suffers when things don't go its way. But there is an alternative process from which actions flow spontaneously without the ego mind chasing positives and trying to reform negatives. So the first step is to develop non-judgmental awareness. When we unlearn judgment, we discover that we don't need the motivation of the reformer to change our bad habits. We may simply need to be more aware. The driver is waiting to show you what it can do when allowed to operate without the conscious strivings of the judgmental navigator. We will look into the discovery of this process next, but it's important to note that acknowledgement of strengths, effort, and accomplishments facilitate this process. Judgments are what interfere. The idea so far is that harmony between the ego mind and the body happens when we let go of self-judgment. This way, we can become aware of what self too is and appreciate the process by which it works. When this happens, trust is developed, and eventually, the elusive ingredient for all top performance emerges: self-confidence. Now, I want you to put your opinions down for a moment. Whether you think your body is clumsy, uncoordinated, average, or even awesome, and think about what it does. As you watch this video, your body is performing a remarkable feat of coordination. Your eyes track the images, your ears process the sound, your brain translates these into symbols, compares them with memories of similar symbols, and connects them to form an impression of meaning. Thousands of these operations are taking place every few seconds. At the same time, again, without conscious effort, your heart is pumping, your lungs are breathing, keeping a complicated system of organs, glands, and muscles nourished and working while billions of cells are functioning, reproducing, and fighting off disease. Just getting your device ready to watch this, your body had to coordinate a ton of muscle movements, without self one needing to describe any of the actions. The process that your body used to learn these is no different from the process it uses to learn paragliding. Reflect on the complicated series of actions performed by your body just to reverse launch your glider. It is simultaneously processing constant sensory input from your feet, the wind on your skin, and the lines in your hands. In order to anticipate how and where to move the feet on the pull-up and whether to correct the glider to the left or to the right, the brain must calculate within a fraction of a second, taking into account the velocity of the glider combined with progressive changes due to foot and hand movements. Then, each of these factors must be recalculated as we turn and kite the glider. Simultaneously, muscle orders must be given and constantly refined as information is updated. If the wind is strong, this is all happening within moments. Just to pull the glider up is a remarkable feat of coordination. To dance with the wing effortlessly when it comes up in strange configurations, in varying conditions, is a remarkable feat. Yet it isn't uncommon. The truth is that everyone with a human body possesses an incredible instrument. With this in mind, degrading ourselves doesn't seem appropriate. We have a staggering inner intelligence that can learn with childlike ease. If we can respect this side of ourselves, then both arrogance and mistrust will gradually change. As long as the ego mind is ignorant or unwilling to give up credit, then true self-confidence will remain elusive. Clearly, the answer is to trust, to let go. You trust in your body and brain, you give up control and let it fly the wing. Simple, but not easy. Letting it happen is not making it happen. It's not trying hard. Trying too hard is what produces tight muscles, awkward turns, mistimed thermals, and botched launches. The result is a lot of frustration. When we're ground handling, we trust our bodies to let it happen because the ego mind tells itself that it doesn't really matter. But on takeoff, especially if others are watching, watch the navigator try to exert control. The tightening process happens to every athlete in every sport. The difference between holding our brakes tightly or loosely is the number of muscles which are contracted. How many and which ones are needed when coring a thermal? No one knows. But if the conscious mind thinks it does and tries to control those muscles, it will inevitably use muscles that aren't needed. Not only is this a waste of energy, but certain muscles will interfere with others. Thinking you need to try hard to maneuver your glider, self-one will initiate the use of unneeded muscles which will actually impede the free-flowing movement needed to synchronize with your wing and the air. If we could treat our flying as we do with a child learning to walk, we would make much more progress. Fortunately, children learn how to walk before they are told how to with words. Yet, not only do they learn how to become expert walkers, they gain confidence in the natural learning process which operates within them. Child is never blocked by words and ideas of judgment. So why shouldn't a paraglider treat their learning as a loving parent would treat a child? The trick is not to identify with your takeoff, with your thermaling, or with your landing. If you view any of these as a reflection of who you are, you will be upset because failure is part of the journey. But you are not your takeoff any more than a parent is their child. If you identify with every success and failure along the way, your self-image will be as unstable as the air inside a cunum. To let your paragliding develop naturally, you need to be able to watch it with detached interest. You are not your paragliding. You are not your body.
You're not your fucking khakis.
Trust your body to learn to fly, and in a short time, you will perform beyond your expectations. Let go and let the flower grow. But don't take my word for it. You'll need to go out and experiment so you can experience this for yourself. At this point, you might be asking, how can I just let it happen? The actions of self too are stored in memory alongside its own past actions or the actions of others. For example, someone that's never played with a glider before needs to pull it up a few times before self 2 learns how and what corrections to make to keep it overhead. Every time the action is attempted, it doesn't matter if it's perfect or imperfect, self 2 absorbs valuable information. As you practice, self 2 then fine-tunes this information in memory, strengthening its neural pathways. It remembers every action and the results depending on how alert, aware, and attentive you are. The important thing for a beginner to remember is to let go and allow the natural process to happen without self-instruction. The results might be surprising. A big takeaway here is that we learn far better by watching and imitating. If you want to learn to thermal, forget trying to memorize steps or angles or timing, and rather watch birds and other experienced paragliders fly. Focus without thinking and allow your mirror neurons to feel what they're feeling and absorb what you see. Then as you fly and practice, you might find that certain important intangibles like timing, anticipation, feeling, and sense of confidence are greatly improved, all without conscious effort and control. For many of us, a new relationship must be developed between our ego, mind, and body, one that moves away from criticism and control to one of respect and trust. Generally, the ego mind, often without realizing, looks down on the body, gets frustrated, and degrades itself with critical words and thoughts. So let's change this attitude and learn to look up to the body, grateful for the gift of experiencing its natural intelligence and capabilities with humility. The feeling that happens when you're in front of somebody that you admire. When respect arises, the controlling and critical attitude fades and the sincerity of self too emerges, unafraid and free to learn and perform. You now realize that you can't take any credit for the body's miraculous coordination, but you do get to experience its rewards by learning to speak its language, which, as we've seen, are not words. Words weren't learned by self too until a few years after birth. Its native language across all cultures and races is sensory imagery. Movements are learned through visual and feeling images. So we need to send goal-oriented images to self too. Many of my paragliding students are too technique conscious and not attentive enough to the results that they want to get. They're aware, for example, of how they're landing, but unconcerned with where exactly they want to land. It's often helpful for these pilots to shift from means to ends. When I get pilots to rather lock in on their target, on landing approach, and then just let it happen, they often surprise themselves. Getting the clearest possible image of your desired outcome is the most useful method for communicating with self 2. Here though, trust is essential. Self 1 must stay relaxed, refraining from how-to instructions or predictions and from any effort to control the landing. As self 1 learns to let go, pilots start to hit the spot, a growing confidence in self 2 emerges. Sometimes you need to make a deliberate change to your technique. Let's say that you keep getting plucked on takeoff because you're braking too hard and not moving your feet fast enough, and the habit continues despite all efforts to change it. First, you must give self 2 a very clear image of what you want it to do. This can be done by closely watching someone you admire, then imitating them by physically acting out the desired movement without any equipment. You might feel foolish thinking that you already know the proper technique, but it's vital to stay humble and to give self to an image to imitate. Having done this, it might be useful then to close your eyes and imagine as clearly as possible the entire movement of the feet and the hands. Now it's time to practice and let it happen. Don't try. Self one's role is to watch in a detached manner. It's really important not to make conscious effort to get it right. If after a few pull-up attempts while ground handling your body doesn't conform to the image yet, then try to imagine and visualize the outcome and then let it happen. Once your body is naturally performing, you can then use this visualization technique on takeoff to make contact with self 2 and get into the flow zone. Many pilots develop a negative self-image through judgment. One begins believing that they are bad at paragliding or an aspect of it and then act out this role, never allowing themselves anything but a glimpse of their true potential. But when a pilot succeeds in letting go of judgment, learns the art of creating images and lets it happen, they experience remarkable change and growth. Learning to cultivate this ability to let go has far-reaching effects. We can learn to let go of comparison, a resistance to failure, and trust the process. We can let go of rigid wants and trust that the conditions or a challenging situation are providing exactly what we need to learn. We can let go of fear, acknowledge it, and then trust in your training, your skills, and your gear. The beauty of let go isn't confined to the sky either. It's a powerful tool for your everyday life, and practicing it daily will supercharge your life and your paragliding. For example, every time I release a new video, put in my best effort and hope that it helps you in some way. But then I let go. I can't control how you interpret it or the impact that it makes. I can control my effort, and then I release any attachment to the outcome. I practice letting go every morning with cold showers. My natural instinct is to resist the cold, but instead I consciously breathe in and say let go as I breathe out and relax my body. I allow the cold to wash over me without resistance, simply observing it as it is. This daily practice builds the same mental muscles I use in the air, observing discomfort without panic, releasing tension, and trusting the process. If the air is rough and I'm nervous, I notice the tension in my body, breathe in deeply, and then on the exhale say to myself, let go. I'm trusting in myself and my equipment. I feel the pressure through my brakes, bringing myself out of my head and into the moment. And then with a relaxed focus, I allow my body to perform freely and flow with the air around it. When you truly embrace the idea of letting go, you unlock a deeper connection with your wing and the elements, a profound sense of calm, and ultimately true flying freedom. This isn't just about better flights. It's about a richer, more joyful experience in life where everything is an opportunity for learning and we can let go of anything that doesn't serve us. For more insight, sign up to my newsletter below. And if you want to understand more about how the masters use flow, then watch this video next.